So the main event didn't exactly go the way I wanted it to go, but still, AEW continues their trend from last week of basically trying to be my friend. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal, Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is your May 4th, 2022 AEW Dynamite review. So yes, May the 4th be with you, because by the time you're listening to this, it will be the Revenge of the 5th. Shout out to all my Star Wars fans out there. Hope you guys are having a good one. Look out later on this weekend. Preview for Backlash has already been recorded. I'm going to be recording a preview for Impact Wrestling's Under Siege as well. That might be myself. It might be myself and Guapo, depending on if the scheduling gods like us or not, because this weekend is Backlash, Under Siege, and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness weekend, is it not? Spaz is a huge nerd. Yes, put it down in the comment section below if you wish, or hit me up on Twitter at Spaz Phoenix to tell me what a gigantic nerd I am, and the chances are higher that I'll actually see it now, because my buddy Muskie is gonna fix Twitter. It's all good. This was a hell of a show, and I will say it, and I will keep saying it every week as long as it stays true. The chasm between stuff I don't care about and stuff that's absolutely fucking awesome is absolutely growing every week. It's getting more defined every week, and we started off with Adam Cole, which is weird because Adam Cole doesn't have a match, but it's because he's on commentary, because Fish versus Hardy is our first match of the night. It's an Owen Hart tournament qualifier. There, words work if I put them in order in a sentence. I'm not gonna lie, I really thought that they were gonna have Bobby Fish go over here. I mean, Jeff Hardy's my boy, you guys know that. Anybody that's been following me for any more than a day knows that I'm a huge Hardy mark, and bringing the Hardy Boys, plural, into AEW bought them a lot of goodwill from me. But I did think that Hardy was going to do the job here, and we were going to get all three members of the former Undisputed Era in the mix. But, spoiler, that's not the case. Obviously, Fish is out there with Kyle, Hardy's out there with Hardy, so I should say Jeff is out there with Matt. It did underline right away to me that you have Fish, who's half of a tag team, Hardy, who's half of a tag team, and Dax, who's already qualified, who's half of a tag team, participation in the tournament, which is a very unique thing, and I don't know what the significance of that is, or even if there is any significance, but something we're going to talk about in a second underlines that even more. Because Red Dragon is out there, they focused in the crowd for just a second on somebody who brought a sign that said Inbred Dragon, which made me laugh because I'm about 2 years old. It's fine. Not to the offense of either guy, but this was a pretty slow-paced, heavy-hitting type match. Took me way too long to realize Hardy dressing in basically all fluorescent pink was a nice little Owen Hart nod. Bobby Fish at some point, he didn't sell it for the rest of the match, so I don't think it was actually supposed to happen, but he goes for a slingshot senton into the ring, kind of Eddie Guerrero style at one point, which Jeff Hardy gets out of the way, and it looked like he landed pretty hard on the shoulder. Now, I thought that was going to become the story of the match. It didn't, so I'm thinking it might have just been a little bit of a miscue. We go to the rafters where Darby and Sting are watching, and you've got Darby and Sting, who are a de facto tag team, I suppose, and Darby is already in the tournament, so that goes back to my point from a minute ago. It bears repeating that Jeff Hardy hasn't been Brother Nero, or he was Brother Nero 2 companies ago, and he's still getting Brother Nero chance, which I think is great. I think it's funny that last week when he said he was in the tournament, he said he's having his first match in the singles galaxy, which winds up all the right people, does it not? Avalanche Falcon Arrow by Bobby Fish is really cool. Swanton by Jeff Hardy gets the win, though. So now we know so far. We didn't know. They haven't really said very much, and we're going to get to the bracket later on. They never really said when they started doing qualifying matches how many people would actually be in this tournament. But at the end of this match, they showed you that so far Jeff Hardy, Samoa Joe, Dax Harwood, Adam Cole, Darby Allin, and Kyle O'Reilly have already qualified for the match. It's like, okay, well, how many more are left? Because it's supposed to start next week. The Bucks then come out. They have a quick sort of, not a face-off, but a little bit of a face-to-face with the Hardys, and just long enough for the crowd to do the crowd thing. It kind of made me... I know these guys have already fought, so it's not a new thing. I know they fought the night before the Hardy Boys came back to WWE for WrestleMania. I know that that's a thing. I've heard about it. I've heard it's great. Would I love to see it again? Sure. Why not? The Undisputed Elite has made the Bucks tolerable. Isn't that wonderful? But it did make me think of the very first time the Wyatt family and the Shield went face-to-face, and you didn't really have to say anything. It just sort of happened. But there was no conflict. They sort of gave each other a bit of an awkward nod. Hardys went on their way, you know, celebrating up the rampway, etc., while the Bucks go check on Bobby Fish. Now, it bears noticing that while O'Reilly is checking on Fish, while the Bucks are checking on Fish, Adam Cole never leaves commentary. So it could be something, it could be nothing, it's fine. Whatever, the Undisputed Elite just got back together, so of course they'll break them up and do Elite stuff, because Bullet Club stuff, because even WWE, and you're going to hear me talk about this more on the WrestleMania Backlash preview, even WWE is doing Bullet Club stuff. I'm sure when ROH actually gets up off the ground as a show, they will do Bullet Club stuff. You know, the Elite are doing Bullet Club stuff. Jay White and Chris Bay and the Good Brothers, etc., 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 and some other dude who's on the card for Under Siege, who I've never actually seen before, are also doing Bullet Club stuff. So yes, as a guy who never grew up on the Bullet Club, who never was with them sort of on their heyday, I'm going to sneeze. I do acknowledge that the Bullet Club are pretty much everywhere, even Okay, can we not sneeze while I'm trying to do a podcast? That would be great. We go to a video package voiced over by William Regal. Now, I don't usually watch the Road 2s because I think it's basically a 5-minute, 10-minute long commercial for the show. But everybody said, check out the William Regal voiceover for the Blackpool Combat Club, and it is really good. And they do this whole... He does this whole metaphor of, like, you know, 9 times out of 10 you'd give somebody a knife and they would just stab their enemy, whereas people in the Blackpool Combat Club would rather cut you across the face, so you have to look at it every day. That's a nice... It's a nice bit of imagery, and it's an image that only William Regal and a select handful... I mean, Moxley could make something like that work himself as well. Let's not get too carried away. But William Regal is just that guy, and he can't wrestle anymore. I don't think he's in the shape to do it anymore. But still, him being behind the Blackpool Combat Club makes them a scarier endeavor. Now they're going up against Butchered Blade and Angelico. William Regal is on commentary. He makes a joke about how do you pronounce Angelico. It's fine. He comes over and he greets Mr. Ross, Mr. Schiavone, and the Man in the Mask, which is becoming a thing that pops me every week. Butcher jumps Mox in the crowd, which gives a hopeful little start for the heels throughout the match. There's a mid-air Indian deathlock, like suspended in mid-air Indian deathlock by Angelico, which I thought was interesting. If nothing else, their advantage doesn't last very long. Blackpool Combat Club does Blackpool Combat Club stuff. Moxley hit a diamond cutter in this match, which is the theme for the night. There's a lot of cutters on this show. They do the 3-man beatdown, they do the 3-man submission, and they get the win. Nice and simple. They just keep throwing 3-man teams together for these guys to beat up. So they are, I've already mentioned the Shield once, but they are the Shield of AEW, and I'm not saying that they're the same gimmick or anything like that, but it is like, here is the force that we are pushing right now. Let's keep putting things together. Now, they are a trio. Now, so far, people that they've gone against have been either 3 singles guys or a tag and a singles person. But, you know, we see the other trios that are lining up to face each other. I want to see the Blackpool Combat Club versus Death Triangle. I want to see the Blackpool Combat Club versus the House of Black. So let's start doing stuff like that. Let's eventually get to teams that are not just set up to be dominoes. Doesn't have to be yet, but it has to be in the next couple of weeks. It has to be before Double or Nothing, because these guys are the pushed entity right now. You better decide what you're doing with them at Double or Nothing, unless Wheeler Yuta, for some reason, is defending the ROH Pure title, and then you can put Moxley and Danielson, in the tag team title picture, because they do make a point of putting in their graphic every week that the team of Moxley and Danielson from within this trio are the number 4 ranked tag team. But speaking of the tag team division, we see Jurassic Express in the back, and they acknowledge that Starks and Hobbs want a shot at their tag team belts. But the response to that is, well, we want a shot, or sorry, Jungle Boy wants a shot at Starks' FTW championship, so that's happening at some point next week. And then we go to Swerve and Lee, who are like, oh, isn't that cute? They want a tag team title shot, but they're not done with us yet. So layers. I like layers. These 4 guys up here are fighting. There's 2 different titles involved, and then there's a 3rd team waiting in the wings as well. Now, Impact invaded the show twice this evening, and I shouldn't say invaded, because it was planned. It was pretty much well known, and if anybody knows anything about anything, we knew that Wardlow was going to face W. Morrissey tonight. That was going to be MJF's next hired gun. Wardlow comes out, no entrance music, handcuffed with more security than the law should allow, and then MJF comes out to introduce the Big Dub. He calls him the Big Dub, then he calls him William Morrissey, then he gets introduced as W. Morrissey. He has his W. Morrissey graphics and all that from Impact, which is nice. Immediate "how you doing" chants made me laugh. As he's making his way to the ringside, you see another sign in the crowd that make me laugh pretty fucking huge. MJF has been like this since he lost his Teddy Ruxpin. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you're probably way younger than me, and now I just feel old. Morrissey looks strong, I will say, for a match. Once again, it's kind of like the trios match we just talked about. You know where this is going. You know the story between Wardlow and MJF is that Wardlow kills everybody and eventually gets MJF. But even knowing that, Morrissey looks strong. Morrissey is a fucking huge dude. I will just say, I always say when I talk about W. Morrissey, when I'm talking about Impact, when I'm leading into pay-per-views and whatever, he's never the guy that I'm most excited to see on a card, but he is the guy that is going to destroy somebody, and it's probably going to be pretty fun. And not that it should always lean over into the real world side of things, but if you know the real world side of things, you can't help but feel happy for the guy. And I'm happy for him to have a huge stage like he's got tonight on Dynamite. We didn't get a Powerbomb Symphony because W. Morrissey is a fucking huge individual. Single powerbomb puts him away, and then he basically disappears from existence. Wardlow goes to get handcuffed once again, and he beats up the security. He beats up waves and waves and waves of security until they're all on the outside, and some poor schmuck that's left on the inside gets chucked out of the ring onto the rest of the security guards. They have a little bit more banter back and forth on the mic. MJF finally accepts a match with Wardlow. They never actually say in the promo at Double or Nothing, but we pretty much know that it's going to be at Double or Nothing. He says, but there's going to be conditions. And I'm not going to announce the conditions in this shitty town, Roddy. We're going to wait till next week when we're in the best place on earth, because it's in his hometown next week, and we're going to get the conditions. And I'm pretty sure it's going to involve Sean Spears. It's going to involve some kind of handicap match. Now, I will say, Powerbomb Symphony on MJF, when it happens, will be cathartic as fuck. But separate little side tangent, something that I want. Sean Spears, the former Ty Dillinger, the former 10, if he gets his hands on Spears and hits him with 10 power bombs, that will make the story. Because Sean Spears, although he hasn't been doing very much, although he's just been sort of a lackey and kind of looking like he's losing his nut a little bit in the backstage promos, he has been an integral part of this, being not only MJF's lapdog, being Wardlow's accountability buddy, even though they ripped that right out of South Park, but it's fine. He has to get his on the way to MJF getting his. If you don't agree, if you do agree, put it down in the box below. But Sean Spears is sort of an underrated part of this whole feud. When MJF was feuding with Punk and the whole Wardlow thing was happening on the side, we all knew that we needed to also pay attention to Wardlow. You know, while things are happening over here, watch what the other hand is doing. I dare say, not to the same level, but while you're watching the MJF and Wardlow stuff happen, you do have to watch what's happening on the Sean Spears side of things. And I do think, when we do get to Double or Nothing, I do think that FTR are going to factor into this somehow, because it'll be their final official separating from MJF and Shawn Spears. And then after Double or Nothing, you can get a one-off tag team match, MJF and Shawn Spears versus FTR, and I think that'll be good too, and Wardlow can come and beat them all up afterwards just to be like, hey, I beat you on Sunday, and now my guys in FTR, who are also baby faces now, they beat you. Let's all celebrate, have a couple more power bombs, and call it a day, call it a week, call it a feud, call it a whatever. We get in the back what I was asking for last week. It's Toni Storm and Ruby Soho, Britt Baker, and Jamie Hayter are fighting on Rampage this week, and it's being announced that this is the first time a female match has opened a show. Now, a lot of focus is put on the main event of shows. They've had women main event the shows with who was it? Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker in the Lights Out match that everybody fucking loved, and those two women deserved it. They nearly killed each other. The other coveted spot, especially on Dynamite, but on Rampage as well, is the opening spot. So this tag team match, Storm and Soho versus Baker and Hayter, is going to open Rampage on Friday, which is wonderful. We all know in the background that Toni Storm and Jamie Hayter are facing off each other in the first round. Soho and Baker are going to face at some point, I'm sure. Not sure whether it's going to be in the first round or whatever, but it is what it is. So it's a nice little precursor to the Owen, and Storm and Soho as a tag team is just going to be fucking awesome. Again, with all the things that we've done so far, with Jeff Hardy going into the Owen, with the Blackpool Combat Club being fucking awesome, with AEW giving W. Morrissey spotlight on their main show, with Storm and Soho being a cool tag team, at least for one night. AEW, much like last week, I see you, you're trying to be my friend, I see what you're doing, it's fine. Then we get into the weird territory, where we call out Hangman Page, who hasn't really talked about this thing with CM Punk yet, because he's been home obeying COVID quarantine, apparently. Good for him, I'm not going to take any piss out of that, but it means that CM Punk last week got to sort of fire the first verbal arrow. He was respectful, but he's like, look, I respect you and you're a great champion or whatever, but I'm coming for the title. It was a very realistic sort of walk and talk promo. Hangman Page came out here and tried to bury CM Punk, and the crowd saw exactly what he was doing and tried to bury him pretty much immediately. He says, oh, I'd love to go out there and shake your hand and tell you I respect you and say that we're going to have a classic at the pay-per-view, but I'm going to embarrass you. This isn't going to be a masturbatory Bret Hart tribute classic. I'm going to make that guy in the front row over there take his shirt back to the merchandise stand if he doesn't burn it first. As you guys can probably tell, he's not here tonight. He's probably filming another TV show, and at Double or Nothing, I'm going to embarrass him. So, random Hangman Page heel turn out of nowhere is random and out of nowhere? I don't know, and he's not convincing either. I know there's a lot of you that probably listen to me that have been following Hangman Page a lot before the formulation of AEW. You guys probably have a lot more history with him. Maybe he's been a heel before, and I just don't know. This was not convincing at all. This was the promo equivalent of a shock jock on the radio trying to get some attention. This was bad. This makes me want Punk to win the title even more and maybe revisit the MJF feud with the title on the line. This was crap and didn't make any sense, and as I say, out of nowhere, Punk, who's come in and he's had rivalries with people, but he's been both in and out of kayfabe, really, really respectful, really happy to have the chance to work with all the people that he's worked with, and he even did the commentary for the Dax versus Cash match last week. He's sort of fully babyface, even though he's playing a tweener. There's no justification for this. It makes no sense. If this, I hate to say this, because WWE kind of sucks the dick right now, but if this happened on Raw, if this happened on SmackDown, if this happened on NXT 2.0, people would run it. They would tear it to ribbons, deservedly so, and it deserves no less coming from this show. That's just my opinion. Take it for what it is. I know AEW can do no wrong, according to some people. Sidgwick, I'm looking at you. But this was bad, and it didn't make any sense, and it was bad. and it didn't make any sense. Jericho versus Santana, we're keeping the Jericho versus Eddie and his buddies thing going on longer. Now, I'm not ever going to slight somebody for doing a fireball spot. I'm never going to say, hey, you didn't do that properly. But the people in the edit bay that keep replaying that video in slow motion aren't doing the story any favors, because you see the thing go over his head. And yes, I want it to go over his head. I don't want anybody to actually burn their fucking faces off. Don't misquote me on this. But I don't think doing the replay in slow motion helps. If you played it at regular speed, it would look impressive and whatever. It's not nearly as bad as Hogan and Warrior at Halloween Havoc. You know, somebody's going to make that comparison. It's just a little, like, you did some editing where you didn't need to do some editing, is what I'm going to say there. Match starts off with Santana jumping Jericho. Santana and Ortiz totally no-selling the 2-on-5 disadvantage that they're at. They brawl outside for quite a while. Jericho does his typical camera stuff, and then we finally get back into the ring. We sort of have this buzzards mentality of Jericho Appreciation Society constantly circling the ring. Santana goes for the Three Amigos, which is an awesome tribute to Eddie Guerrero. Don't get me wrong. It is also an easy button to get a cheap pop, let's be real. And in this particular case, it works on two levels, I guess, because A, it's acknowledging the passing of Eddie Guerrero because it's using his stuff, but also it's bringing attention to the fact that Eddie Kingston isn't there, and he's their buddy, and that's why they're at a 5-on-2 advantage. He also goes for a frog splash, which, if I'm honest, looked really messy. But when Chris Jericho went for the Walls of Jericho, he went for a really cool counter roll-up attempt and followed that up by a cutter when the roll-up attempt didn't work. Hit him with an awesome high-angle cannonball, something that would even put Kevin Owens to shame, and you guys know how much I like Kevin Owens. But some chicanery on the outside leads to a low blow and a Judas effect and a Jericho win. A 5-on-2 beatdown after the match, which seemed like a setup for maybe two more partners to come in, but it didn't happen. It was just a prolonged series of Santana and Ortiz getting the shit beat out of them. And then we go to the back, where the Acclaimed, who I really like, and Max Caster gets way too much criticism. It's fine. I love them as a tag team. I wish they were back in the tag team title picture. But no, instead they're stuck in the back with the Gun Club doing scissoring jokes that end in literal scissors. Could have done without that. You know what else I could have done without? Was Brian Pillman Jr. cutting a promo. He comes out, apparently they said on Dark that they were going to call out the House of Black tonight on Dynamite. I didn't know this until the night, because I don't think a wrestling company should give you homework. Moving on, he cuts a really, really lame promo about, oh God, this is all our fault. We've been complacent and comfortable, and look what happened to my dear Julia, and rah. They call out the House of Black, and the House of Black eat them alive, and Julia gets given a chair by the House of Black, and they tell her to beat up one of them. I think it's Pillman Jr. She thinks about it for a long time, doesn't ultimately end up doing it, and they get mad at her. She's got the Aleister Black paint under the eye patch. So there's a hint of what's coming. We all thought it was coming tonight. It didn't quite come tonight because Death Triangle came out to save her. I don't know what happened to Griff Garrison, because Brian Pillman was down in the center of the ring and Julia was being told to hit him with a chair. What's his name? Griff Garrison fucking disappeared, which is fine. So you got Julia Hart in there, and you've got Brian Pillman Jr. in there, flat on his ass. Julia Hart about to hit him with a chair to solidify her heel turn or turn to the dark side or whatever, and then it's broken up by Death Triangle, which is fucking great, because we got more of the spooky bullshit. We got the two spooky teams that are about to fight each other, and once again, I say I love it because it winds up all the right people. Also, because I'm in a spooky mood and all the spooky shit is happening at AEW are trying to be my friend, AEW I see you, when Julia Hart turns on the Varsity Blondes. First of all, I don't think it should be in a match against the Varsity Blondes. I think it should be in the middle of this trios match that they're clearly building for Double or Nothing between House of Black and the Death Triangle. I think House of Black and the Death Triangle should be interrupted by the now heel-turned Julia Hart. And yes, because I am just this corny and I love the spooky bollocks so much, when she joins the House of Black, she should go from being called Julia Hart to being called Julia Blackheart. There you go, Tony Khan. There you go, AEW. You can have that one for free. Oh, good. Jade Cargill's in the back cutting a promo. I can hit fast forward. Fast forward gets me to Rey Fenix versus Dante Martin. Rey Fenix, who just came back to the company after an injury, versus the walking armband himself, Dante Martin. Let's talk about some highlights out of this match, because I went into this with a really defeatist attitude. It's Dante Martin, who, as I say, is the walking armband, versus somebody with the same fake last name as me. So, of course, AEW was going to kick me in the dick on this. Or were they? Springboard, face first, Spanish fly by Rey Fenix. Snap Rana into a roll-up attempt by Fenix. A slingshot into a pop-up cutter by Fenix. And then in the dead center of the ring, I don't know what to call it other than an insane implant driver thing, gets the win for somebody named Fenix over the walking armband Dante Martin. AEW, you're trying to be my friend. I fucking see you. There we go. There's all your flowers. Right there. At the end of that, not only does Fenix go on, and not only can Dante Martin go fuck himself, but we actually got the bracket for the men's Owen Hart tournament. It is an 8-man tournament, and it breaks down as follows. Jeff Hardy versus Darby Allin, with the winner facing the winner of Adam Cole versus Dax Harwood. And on the other side of the bracket, you've got Rey Fenix, not Dante Martin, taking on Kyle O'Reilly, and they will face the winner of current ROH TV champion Samoa Joe versus the Joker. Because it's AEW, and it's a new AEW concept, of course they've got a Joker, and I'll say it once again, I love it, because it'll wind up all the right people. Oh yes. Thunder Rosa calls out Serena Deeb, and the purpose of this basically is to say that we're getting Thunder Rosa versus Serena Deeb at Double or Nothing. They did a lot of sort of catty, passive-aggressive, yeah, you're great, yeah, I'm great, yeah, we're leading the women's division, but yeah, I should have that title. I like Thunder Rosa. I respect the in-ring acumen of Serena Deeb. I don't know how interested I am in her as a title contender. And that sounds really bad, I know. But there are so many other people that I would love to see go up against Thunder Rosa. Eventually, Britt Baker's going to have a rematch. That's cool. But you've got Tay Conte, which I know will wind up a lot of people. Good. You've got Ruby Soho. You've got Toni Storm. You've got Kiera Hogan, who's being wasted as a lackey to Jade Cargill, who's fucking terrible. These are all people that I'd be much more excited to see. This is not, again, let me reiterate one more time. This is not to take anything away about the in-ring ability of Serena Deeb. I just think there are more interesting character choices in that regard. I hope that's clear. I expect the match will be fucking great. I love Thunder Rosa. If you guys are a fan of What Culture and you know who Simon Miller is, go check out the Thunder Rosa blog where she's interviewing Simon Miller. It's really funny because she makes him eat a lot of hot food and his face goes all red. It's fucking great. The main event, and this is a win on so many levels, even though I didn't get the result that I wanted. This is, like I say, the rare occurrence of a women's match main eventing the show. It's another, well, I mean, ROH isn't really another company, but it's kind of another company's women's championship main eventing. It's title versus title, which is always fun. And it's Deonna Purrazzo, who, if you have been following any of my Impact content, has been put through the ringer in the past little while. She lost to Mickie James so that Mickie James could walk out during the Royal Rumble with that belt. Which, I mean, fine, but you could have just done that with Deonna Purrazzo instead. She did the Champ Challenge for a while, which is awesome. She lost the AAA Reina de Reinas championship just recently to the returning Taya Valkyrie, which is kind of fine, but now she's got one belt left, and it's not even the company she works for. It's the ROH Women's Championship, and she's defending it against the interim ROH champion, Mercedes Martinez, who won it at Supercard of Honor. Deonna Purrazzo's got, and I'm including all of my favorites from WWE in this. Deonna Purrazzo has got to be one of the most underrated women wrestling right now. And that's to take, again, I gotta keep saying shit like this. That's not to take anything away from Mercedes Martinez. Mercedes Martinez is a badass. But Deonna Purrazzo had to drop the title of the company that she works for to Mickie James so that Mickie James could drop it to discount Sasha Banks. Oh, man. Your heart goes out to her in a way, but in another way, I'm really, really happy for her because this is probably the biggest crowd she's wrestled in front of in a while. I don't know how big the AAA crowds are. I've never seen a AAA show in my life, and she wasn't able to be. How did this work out? She wasn't able to be at the Supercard of Honor because the multiverse of matches was the same night. In the same city, by the way, but that's why we got Mercedes Martinez versus Willow Nightingale. Willow Nightingale, who I'm also now a huge fan of. It was really, really cool to see Purrazzo on, like I say, on the big stage. I love her music. The Virtuosa entrance theme is really, really cool. Nice to see that in a big arena. The crowd immediately chanting Virtuosa for her. There was a lot of questioning from a couple different podcasts that I listened to, whether or not her name was going to be known, whether she was going to get a good reaction, because Impact, although it is getting a lot better, and I'm enjoying it personally, it's not as big a stage as AEW. Let's be real, I'll admit that. But they sucked it up right away. She kicked away the handshake when they tried to go for the code of honor. Deonna worked the arm instantly, and that became the story of the whole match, because she's the virtuosa master of the what's the word I'm looking for? Master of the armbar. The Venus de Milo, I think is what she calls it. But she can do that from anywhere. Like, if she clotheslines you, she's still holding onto your arm. If she slams you, or if she suplexes you, she's still holding onto the arm. If you're down on the ground, she's attacking your arm. It's fine. She's got a very distinct plan. Well, Martinez, who's also very, very technically sound, comes off as the much more scrappy, heavy-hitting one of the two. As we went to commercial break, I should say in the commercial break, during the pitcher-in-pitcher, it looks like both of them took falls to the outside. The pitcher-in-pitcher up here in Canada is pretty crap, so I couldn't tell you 100%. A series of suplexes by Martinez when we get back from the match, a Fisherman Buster, and they trade submissions, and kind of surprisingly, and I'm not upset about the result. I am upset about the result because I wanted Deonna Purrazzo to win, but she put her in a dragon sleeper that she kind of looked like she was struggling to put on, and that's what got the win. So Mercedes Martinez has the championship now. She is a AEW talent, and it is being said that Tony Khan is slowly transitioning all the ROH titles onto, quote-unquote, his guys. That's why we have Joe. That's why we have Wheeler Yuta. That's why we have FTR. That's why I think it's official that they've signed Jonathan Gresham. Somebody can tell me down in the box below. But now to put it on Mercedes Martinez as well. I get it. It makes sense. It's fine. I mean, I would love nothing more than to wake up tomorrow morning, hop on Twitter, get past all the toxic crybaby bullshit that's on there because my buddy Muskie is fixing Twitter, and find a graphic that isn't photoshopped that says Deonna Purrazzo is all elite. Now, that sounds like I'm shitting on Impact when I say that, but I'm really not. I hope Impact picks up some of the people that WWE has been stupid enough to get rid of. I hope they pick up, like Athena, Nixon Newell, Dakota Kai. I hope they pick up those types. They've already picked up the Iconics, who are now the Inspiration. I think there's a shuffling there, but I think it's well overdue that Deonna Purrazzo be on a bigger stage. And it was really, really cool. Even though she lost, even though Mercedes Martinez is the champ herself now, she is the undisputed ROH Women's World Heavyweight Champion, it was really, really cool to see Deonna Purrazzo main eventing on a show this size, and that's what I'm going to take away from this. As I said, it's a much bigger example of what I said earlier on in the night with W. Morrissey. Getting to see him, as I say, with all the stuff that we know he's been through, get to shine on a bigger stage. Getting to see my boy Jeff Hardy go into the Owen. Like I say, this ladies tag that we're looking forward to on Friday. And oh my god, what time is Rampage on this Friday? I'm pretty sure they only told me 130,000 times that it's coming on at 5:30 p.m. I don't know if I'm going to remember that. You need to tell me another 6,842.22235 times. We get it. We get that the open door is coming, or whatever the hell that's called. We get that it looks like we have 3 matches going into Double or Nothing so far. We know we're getting MJF and Wardlow of some description. We know we're getting Deeb versus Rosa. We know we're getting Punk versus weirdly, suddenly heel, what's his name? Hangman Page. I don't know what else we do. I know we're getting the finals of the 2 Owen tournaments. How many women have qualified for the ladies, Owen? I didn't write that down if they told us, because I don't think they told us tonight. Oh, yeah, next week, Emi Sakura and Riho have a match coming up, and Cole versus Dax and Jeff Hardy versus Darby Allin are both happening next week. So, as long as I've been saying the past 2 weeks, hey AEW, I see you're trying to be my friend and all that kind of thing, I don't think they can not be my friend next week. So there's that. I will say there was a promo from Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt and their gigantic new friend, because one of them is going to take on random new guy on Rampage. Just do Lethal and Joe, and can we not like have big Indian Diesel in the background? That'd be great. That was a really weird way for me to end off the pod, but that is exactly how I'm going to end off the pod. Let me know what you guys think down in the box below, or find me on Twitter at SpazPhoenix. As I say, watch your inbox or your feeds this coming Friday, where there will be already in the can is a preview for WrestleMania Backlash. I'll let you know right now, because Backlash doesn't look that great. I do a little bit of forward casting towards some of their stadium shows, and I talk about the recent releases as well, which is always a bummer. Tomorrow night I should be recording the preview for Under Siege. As I say, if I can get my hands on Guapo, then we'll do a collab. If not, you'll have to put up with just me. Sorry about that. Tune in Friday and find out. I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all of these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, guess what? I'm tagging out, guys. Bye.